Our next panel is going to be led by Larry Boudreau, whom you've already met, and that panel will be resources to grow your exports. Larry, thank you.
Well, this is one of the questions that came up was how to do with all these great things that we've heard about the EXIM Bank, and so we have a list of a group of panelists here that work at various agencies and works with the EXIM Bank. And as I always say, you know, they are all from the government and they are here to help you, okay? So don't be discouraged. But the first person that we have is Brittany Banta. And what I'm going to ask the panelists to do, Brittany has a little slide presentation. I'm going to ask them to, give us a little background on their particular agency and what programs that their agency provides and how their programs have grown and benefit the customers by using their products. So some general information. Brittany, who is a commercial loan officer, can help answer the first question that was asked, and that was, what do I do first? So Brittany will be able to give us an idea of where we go. Brittany has worked with the USEAC. I'm sure there's some name for that.
The U.S. Export Assistance Center here in New Orleans.
Oh, I thought it had like a USEAC or something. No. USEAC. Okay, good. And anyway, and she participated in the energy team and works with the businesses in Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish. So she has a tremendous background working with the UK trade and in investments. So she is also, I know the appearance being a young lady, but she is also a lawyer and is practicing or at least is admitted to the bar in New York in '09. So and she lives here in New Orleans. You notice that's New Orleans. Anyway, so when you go back, you know how to pronounce the city here. But Brittany, we look forward to your comments.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So as Larry mentioned, my name is Brittany Banta. I'm a commercial officer with the U.S. Department of Commerce, International Trade Administration, U.S. Foreign and Commercial Service. So the government is never one to be short on its names. I'd just like to give a quick little presentation about our services and about what we do. So go ahead and start. So the U.S. Commercial Service is part of the International Trade Administration and is an agency of the United States government. We promote the export of U.S. goods and services. We represent U.S. business interests internationally, and we help U.S. businesses find qualified international partners. And as Patricia mentioned earlier, we also have Select USA, which is the foreign direct investment part of our mandate, which helps foreign companies set up in the U.S. So what do we do exactly? We have a number of different ways we help local businesses. We do trade counseling, and by that I mean we help local businesses get the information and advice that they need to explore new markets or expand their current operations in foreign markets. If you are a small business that's just getting started locally, or you're a small business that's been around for a while and now you're looking to begin exporting internationally, we would probably link you up with the Louisiana Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, which is a great resource under the Small Business Administration that can help you develop an export-ready plan, a marketing plan, and make sure all your ducks in a row before you actually get to exporting. We can also help with legal and regulatory issues. So for example, maybe you have a product that would be great in a market like Russia or somewhere in the Middle East where there are some security concerns. We can help you understand the regulations and export controls under the Bureau of Industry and Security, which is another commerce agency, what licenses you might need to actually export to those countries, what concerns and considerations you might need to think of. We can also help you with your documentation and your product requirement and any trade issues you might encounter in exporting. We also help with market intelligence, so we help you target the best opportunities. We have something called country commercial guides, which are freely available on our website, export.gov, in the market research library. These are updated every year by our commercial officers, in which we have in more than 70 countries around the world. And what they do is they write what are the best prospects in these countries, what's the route to market for these industries, what are some things you should think of, what are opportunities, challenges, concerns. They're general overviews about that particular market. They also produce specific reports on certain industries. So for example, our colleagues in Australia have developed a report on the automotive industry, which is actually really interesting timing considering Australia is phasing out all of its auto manufacturing over the next couple of years. So there's going to be a big demand for the import of automotive vehicles there. We also help provide trade data and opportunities about specific markets. So as mentioned, Pemex, the deregulation of the oil and gas industry in Mexico, is a huge opportunity for Louisiana businesses. And earlier this month, we hosted Mexican government officials and officials from PPI, Pemex Procurement International, at the Port of New Orleans to talk about what the opportunities are for Louisiana businesses to get involved in the supply chain. We also host foreign delegations. So we have a Nigerian delegation from NIMASA, which is the Nigerian International Maritime Authority, coming over in December, and they're interested in meeting with maritime suppliers to find potential partners and talk about what the opportunities in Nigeria are. So anytime we have a foreign delegation come over, or we have someone approach us about wanting to present on a topic, we really try to jump on the opportunity to partner, to give a presentation, to make Louisiana businesses aware that these opportunities exist. Here's the right people you can network with, and we really try to just share as much opportunity as possible. We also do business matchmaking. So when you're ready to export, we can connect you with our foreign service officers who are in embassies and consulates abroad to help find partners there. So if you're already exporting and you're looking at a new market and maybe it's a bit more challenging, it's not a market you know a lot about or you've heard there's some barriers, our offices in those countries can help you understand the market and actually work with you through a fee service, which is only $700 for a small and medium-sized business, to set up a visit program of 2 to 3 days of meetings with potential partners that fit your profile, your scope. It's all working together to develop the right contacts. We also host trade missions. So it was mentioned that we went to Panama 2 weeks ago. The U.S. Commercial Service worked in conjunction with the Committee of 100 and the Louisiana District Export Council, and we took 50 different leaders from across Louisiana businesses down to Panama in the maritime and transportation sectors, the ports, Copa Airlines meeting, education, and general business and industry as well. And we spent a week meeting with the right people to talk about those opportunities. And already the Louisiana universities have dialogues going with a lot of Panamanian universities and research facilities on collaboration and how they can share on clinical trials and research trials. The meeting with Copa Airlines, that was helped to be arranged by our commercial officer in Panama City, John Coronado, who works with Copa Airlines regularly, so we can really utilize the people we know in country to help set up the right meetings. We also get involved in trade shows. So last month we had the the WEFTEC show, the Water and Environmental Technologies show here at the Morial Center in New Orleans. And we hosted something called the International Buyer Program there, where throughout the course of the show we hosted more than 250 one-on-one meet the buyer sessions between U.S. suppliers who were exhibiting at the shows and international buyers from more than 20 countries who came in. So if you're already exhibiting at a trade show, if it's a show that we support through our International Buyer Program, it's free and it's an excellent way to maximize the investment you've already made into buying a booth at the trade show, traveling to the trade show. It's not just here in New Orleans, we do them all over the world, so something worth thinking about. We'll be doing it at LAGCO, the Louisiana Oil and Gas Show, next, which is every other year. It'll be in 2015. That will, for the first time, be an International Buyer Program show. So just keep that in mind. And we also do commercial diplomacy. So if you are a U.S. supplier that's bidding on a foreign government RFP or contract, we can actually help by having our staff and the senior level, the ambassadors and the deputy ambassadors, lobby for you, your company, on behalf of your company to win that contract with the foreign government. It's a completely awesome program that not many people know about or realize exists, but if you're bidding on a foreign government contract, definitely worth keeping in mind. So those are our kind of the 4 ways we mostly help. If you're interested in trade financing, that's where we would definitely connect you with XM Bank or with Reginald Harley, who we share an office with from the Small Business Administration, and they're both excellent resources about trade financing. So here's just some general information about Louisiana and the exports that come from here. So in Louisiana, 84% of exporters are small and medium-sized businesses. So don't be overwhelmed by how complicated it can seem to actually export if you're a small business. And just some stats on Louisiana in general. And here's some more. The top export industries from Louisiana: petroleum and coal products, ag products, chemicals, food, and machinery. And the top export markets: China, about 13%, then Mexico, Canada, Japan, and Singapore. And as it was mentioned, Louisiana is currently the 6th largest exporting state in the United States. And that's moved up. It was 7th the year before and 8th the year before that, so rapidly moving up. And just some general information about New Orleans exports, since we were able to get such localized data. In the US, the New Orleans metropolitan area is actually the 8th largest export market in the United States, which I try to bring that to the attention of our senior management all the time and saying, we need more resources in our office. So it's just, a huge area. It's been growing like crazy, and about 9.5% of exports go to NAFTA countries. So countries where it's really easy to export to because of the free trade agreement. And just top exports are about the same as they are for Louisiana in general, and top countries: China, Singapore, Mexico, France, and the Netherlands. Also, top markets that are beyond these 5: Brazil, Colombia, Panama, Egypt, and Ecuador. So that's it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Good. Thanks a lot, Brittany. Appreciate the information. It always surprises me that one of the biggest exporters, I guess, or imports come from China and exports to China, because they got to go a long way. When the Panama Canal is going to be widened, it's going to allow bigger ships to come in, and I think we will see that between us and Houston. I think we'll share in those additional business, which would be great. The second panelist we have, you heard a little bit about him already, Patrick Crilly. He is the managing director of the Houston field office of the XM Bank. And he's responsible for a small territory: Arkansas, Colorado, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and the small state of Texas. So that's quite a territory for you to cover. And he's been in that position since I guess it was '92. And prior to that, he was specialized in export credit insurance industry, the FCIA, which I hadn't heard of that FCIA, but I see it's the Foreign Credit Insurance Association. So let's hear what you have to enlighten us with.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, one thing that the director started with, and the questions come up: what does XM Bank do, and how do you get hold of us? Again, as mentioned, I work out of the Houston regional office. Again, XM Bank is a very small agency with roughly about 400 employees. We have basically about 30 to 35 employees stationed outside of Washington. So in my office, where we cover 6 states, there's 2 of us. And our role really is outreach. It's business development outreach. So we go out into the markets, and Louisiana is now part of my own territory. And we deal directly with exporters, but and we also call on the local lenders in that, but more, just as important is how we leverage our outreach efforts. And so we've developed a very close relationship with the U.S. Export Assistance Centers here in New Orleans, but again, we deal with the U.S. Export Assistance Center in Houston and Austin and Midland and El Paso and Tulsa and Oklahoma City and Little Rock, everywhere, because we're such a small agency, we have to be able to leverage our outreach efforts. So not only do we work with the U.S. Export Assistance Center, we work with the Small Business Development Center Network, which is affiliated with the SBA throughout our territory. We also, again, develop through calling on lenders, commercial banks who can be our customers, and I'll talk about that. But again, we also like to refer to them as multipliers because they're out calling in their own communities, and again, we try to put them in a position by training them on XM Bank product and services so that when they're calling on either an existing customer or a prospect, if the issue of exports comes up, they know something, they know at least enough that perhaps XM Bank can provide some kind of a solution in that. And then, of course, I think Warren Bars is here. Many of our products are insurance products, so we work quite a bit with specialty insurance agents. These aren't insurance agents that sell automobile coverage or property. They're not really property and casualty, but they're boutique houses that specialize in trade credit insurance, which can either come from XM Bank or there are some private insurance carriers like FCIA in the marketplace. So the theme of what the director was talking about in the role of XM Bank is really to try to level the playing field for the exporter. And what do we really mean by that? Well, in your packets, one of the handouts is something called the Export Finance Solutions Guide. And when you open it up, it provides the list of the various XM Bank products that we offer, whether it's directly to U.S. exporters or through lenders. And when you look at the products, under the column products, you'll see terms guarantee, credit insurance, loan guarantee, direct loans. Again, these are risk mitigants. We're providing risk mitigation in an effort to level the playing field. Why is there a need to level the playing field? There is an export credit agency like XM Bank in every industrialized country around the world. And unlike in the United States, where you can become immensely successful just selling domestically, you don't have to. You know, we're trying to prod you into exporting and that, but you can be successful just selling domestically. Well, if you're in the UK or Germany or Japan, you can't succeed unless you export. And so their export credit agencies, similar to XM Bank, are very aggressive. And so in the marketplace, as you reach out, and if you decide to get into exporting, our role of leveling the playing field is to try to ensure that you don't lose the sale because of credit or financing that somebody else is offering them. We try to put you in a position, it's still your decision, we're just a tool. But if you're talking to a company in Mexico or in Nigeria or in China or in Colombia, and they're used to getting, say, 60-day credit, you've got a decision to make. They want to buy your product, but they're asking for 60-day credit. Now, do you try to self-insure? Do you walk away? A lot of U.S. companies still to this day will just say, well, no thanks, we're only going to sell on cash in advance. But if you're prepared to try to and expand into exports, then we're one of the tools, because one of our primary products that is used quite a bit in Louisiana is the export credit insurance product, so that you can go ahead and offer credit terms on a customer basis. And then you're dealing directly with XM Bank, by the way. You can insure those sales against the risk of non-payment. And that's what two of the three panelists up here earlier, their primary XM Bank access is accounts receivable insurance, where they have to be able to offer credit. The second, and what happens is now you've got this risk mitigate, whether it's insurance or if you're a lender, it's a guarantee. Suddenly it can become a marketing tool for you because now you're out prospecting. And what we've always encouraged our clients to do, you go to a trade show or you're on a mission sponsored by Foreign Commercial Services, you meet a prospect, you tell them this is our product, and then you add an additional line to your brochure which says credit or financing may be arranged, subject to support of the Export-Import Bank. So suddenly, Mike Ranji's a great success story. You can use the risk mitigate product that we offer as a marketing tool. So it goes beyond just protecting yourself against non-payment. It allows you to be a little bit more aggressive when you're out in the marketplace. And then ultimately, the focus of the business development officers like myself in the regional offices is to really go out and call specifically on the small business community. And in virtually every instance, financing is always an issue. Cash flow is an issue. And so one of the second most popular product that we sell here in Louisiana and elsewhere is a working capital guarantee product, which we co-market actually with the U.S. Small Business Administration. We both offer the same loan guarantee to a lender that will make a working capital loan available to a U.S. company, primarily for inventory financing. So those are the two primary products, and I can get into it a little bit more later, but I'll leave it at that. The key is trying to level the playing field, look at XM Bank as a tool that you can use on an as-needed basis.
Good. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
The last panelist, without him, I think we'd have some real problems, because as this panel is here to help educate you and me on the products, it is Tom's job to educate the Hill, the Congress, on what XM Bank does, the needs that they have to have for the funding sources, the growth that is needed, the support that we need from Congress. So he's got quite a job. He's the Director of Congressional Affairs and Public Relations at the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, and he oversees the agency's outreach to Capitol Hill, the business community, and the press. God bless you, and to inform them as to what the role of the XM Bank. He's got a career in international trade, dealing prior to that with the International Trade Commission. So, Tom.
Thank you very much, Larry, and thank you all for coming today. I changed my presentation a little bit because I wanted to follow up on what Robert said in the last panel of just do something, and try to tie what the U.S. Trade and Development Agency does into making just doing something a little bit easier. The U.S. Trade and Development Agency is an in-bank U.S. government agency that whose sole purpose is to link U.S. companies, U.S. exporters with foreign buyers for major infrastructure projects in emerging economies. We provide this service in three very distinct ways that I think each of them have an important role to play in helping to facilitate trade with companies in Louisiana and around the world, or around the country. USTA provides access, opportunity, and support for U.S. companies to expand their operations or expand their sales internationally. I'll touch base on each one of these three topics briefly, and I want to leave as much time as possible for questions. But with respect to access, what USTDA does, and I think it's something that I've worked with Bob Whitta in the past and others around the room, and the World Trade Center in New Orleans has been a fantastic partner of us over the years through our Making Global Local program. And USTDA actually goes around the world in emerging economies and identifies major infrastructure projects that are about to go to procurement. And we invite senior procurement officials, the decision makers at the most senior level as well as the technical level, to the United States. Take them around the United States, take them to manufacturing sites of U.S. companies that have goods and services that can possibly be used in the implementation of the project, but also take them to operations, business operations that are using U.S. technologies, goods and services, to see firsthand how decision makers in the United States have made their decisions, why they selected a U.S. technology, and how that technology and services is working in operation. So it's a real hands-on way of introducing U.S. companies to foreign buyers. I may show in a little bit. If you go to our website, I think between now and the end of the calendar year, we have 15 different delegations coming from around the world, to cities around the country to meet with U.S. companies. It's making things a little easier. It's not getting on an airplane and flying to Saudi or flying to Africa. We've actually USTDA does due diligence on the buyers and brings them to the United States. We may not always bring them to New Orleans, we may not always bring them to Louisiana, but it's a whole lot cheaper for you to get on a plane and fly across the country, drive across the state to meet with these foreign buying delegations than getting on a plane. Again, just doing it something a little bit easier. USTDA also offers opportunity for companies to demonstrate their technology in foreign markets. USTDA is a grant-making agency that will provide grants to foreign companies, foreign governments, to hire U.S. companies to demonstrate their technologies in the host country. We don't do R&D, it has to be a commercially viable product, but if you have a commercially viable product that before a foreign entity can make the decision to invest, they need to see your technology, your services in operation. USTDA can help defray that cost through a grant-making program to demonstrate the technology in a pilot project. Lastly, support of the three pillars. USTDA provides support in a number of ways. One, we familiarize foreign buyers to U.S. products and services. We offer real-time market intelligence. On our website is actually a link that we work closely with the Department of Commerce, the Department of State, and when we find out about procurement opportunities that are happening, whether we're involved in it or not, we're putting that up on our website so companies can know where the procurement opportunities are around the world and can chase those opportunities. And lastly, one of the things that has been a big driver of our program over the last a year and a half now is what we call our Global Procurement Initiative. More and more countries, and I know XM deals with this quite often, and it's been talked about in some fashion, is particularly in Africa, where we've seen it most prominently. African procurement officials are used to least cost procurement practices, where U.S. companies are not even bothering to go after the procurement opportunities or the export opportunities because they know at the end of the day it's going to be on the lowest cost and it's not taking into account the parts, the labor, the maintenance agreement, the quality that U.S. products have to offer. So last year, USTDA launched what we call our Global Procurement Initiative that's working with governments and companies around the world to help them refine their procurement practices to look at best value, look at the total life cycle cost of procurement to help position U.S. companies to be able to compete in these foreign markets on a level playing field. Those are the three areas I want to touch on briefly: access, opportunity, and support. I think what's critical for our program is we're on the front side, but everything we do is geared towards support, again, linking U.S. exporters to global infrastructure opportunities. And without services like Export-Import Bank, our program would lose an important stream of funding for the projects. I know over the years there's a laundry list of programs that we've done over the years that have been that we did the initial groundwork on the project that has led to XM Bank financing. One of the biggest that we were involved in, and I think the bank as well as the Cartagena refinery, I think they Colombia, I think it was a $1.5 billion loan guarantee loan that we did the feasibility study that defined the parameters for the refinery. It went just before it went to procurement, we brought the procurement officials to the United States, providing access to U.S. companies through our first trade mission. And ultimately, when it went to tendering, it was competed against Korea, Argentina, and a EU company. And the U.S. won, and they won in large measure because of the work we did to define it and introducing U.S. companies and then Ex-Im Bank financing. So it's a kind of a continuum of processes that is so important to help U.S. companies to expand their export sales. With that, hopefully we'll help a little bit more, doing something just a little bit easier. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks a lot. Appreciate the information. Now, the important part of a panel is to be able to respond to your question. So would like to hear from you as to what you've got. 3 experts up here at the local, regional, and U.S. level. So who would like to start off? If not, I will. Okay. I guess one of the questions was asked. Who's that? Anybody? Oh, yes, please.
For Patrick, what percentage of U.S. content does my product have to have in order to qualify for Ex-Im Bank?
Well, it depends on the product that you use. The content guidelines vary. In some instances, there can be an allowance of foreign content in the components of up to 50% if you're using one of our short-term products. When you get into projects like the refinery and that, typically the foreign content is limited to 15% of the U.S. contract price, though on these kind of big projects, we've changed that and added now where not only the U.S. content, there can be what we call local content. So like again in Colombia, maybe site preparation for that refinery has to be done locally. That was part of the financing that we supported. So it varies from product to product. It's certainly, again, on a case-by-case basis. If you're specific, then I can tell you yay or nay and that. But it's pretty flexible. Okay. It's still the bottom line as a U.S. government. It's we want to support U.S. manufactured product and services.
Okay. Next. Yes, sir.
And anyone on the panel is welcome to answer this question. Quotas for specific materials, especially ones that's on the harmonized trade zones. Where can you access the information for, be it textiles or agricultural products or whatnot, in terms of import as well as exports? I know that there has to be some sort of a federal limit on that, and how does those allocations work out in the trickle-down effect to a small business?
I think you can find them on CBP's website. That's Customs and Border Protection. There's a calculator on there to find out what your duties and taxes are when you're exporting, and I'm pretty sure that they have the information on quotas there, though I've never actually had to look up that table before. But there's a pretty good interactive tool there to look at those import and export numbers.
Yeah, because my biggest concern is that if I have international clients who may want to import specific items into the country, and I have clients here in this country that may want to use those products, I don't want to have to, send in, for example, some bananas or something. There may be some small bananas, some specific bananas that I may be able to import to the country. And I might have like a string of smoothie shops that may want to use those bananas. I don't want to be stuck with, a couple of extra tons of bananas sitting in the warehouse because I didn't know about, going past the limits of those particular quotas. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, and we would definitely recommend looking up what those numbers are. If you email me, I can try to help you find the table there. And also, just specifically with food and drink, there's an organization called SUSTA here, which is, I believe it is the Southern United States Trade Association, and they help a lot with food and drink. And As far as the commercial service under the Department of Commerce, we don't work with perishable food and drink, but we do have foreign agricultural service colleagues in markets abroad who can address specific questions about importing and exporting food and drink. We worked with the one in Panama when we did the trade mission because we had the Seafood Council come with us and to help get in the seafood for the mission. So they're very knowledgeable on, specifically if you were asking about food and perishable items, they're very helpful there. But in general, in terms of tariffs and duties and quotas, all of that those tables should be on the Custom and Border Protection website.
And I'll just add, if you want to touch base with me afterwards, a former colleague of mine works at CBP and actually is in this arena that does this and does, not call center, but kind of a center that can answer these types of questions. I can get you him to dinner as well. We'll give you a voice, a direct line right into it.
There's a CBP customer service hotline that's open for any general questions.
One question that comes up is, can a business tap into more than one agency or more than one program at the same time, or are there limitations as to what can you tap into the government with?
Well, again, with the U.S. Trade Development Agency, just for an example, again, a lot of times they're on the front end of a potential project that could lead to, hundreds of millions of dollars of exports. So they'll do the grant and feasibility stuff up front, and which helps the U.S. consortium get the deal, and then Ex-Im Bank will then step in and provide a financing package on the project. With the U.S. Export Assistance Center, again, we refer a lot of customers to them because, again, we may have a company that is already in Mexico, but that's their only market, and now they want to go into, try to get into Brazil or Colombia. Well, we'll refer them to the U.S. Export Assistance Center that will help them on the do's and don'ts, ins and outs of new markets.
And we recommend that people who are looking to export use as many resources as possible.
Sure.
Because especially in my role, I can't answer a lot of questions that people have when they come to me, but I know that Patrick can answer them, or I know that the commercial officer in Lagos, Nigeria can answer them, or I know that Tiffany, who we've worked with, who hosts a lot of foreign delegations, she might be able to help them. So a lot of what we do is we can be the initial point of contact for questions or resources, and then let you know everything that is available to you and encourage you to use as many resources as possible.
And I think some of it goes to sequencing, and I think we've worked closely together in that fashion, particularly on international procurements, where Commerce Department will be doing the advocacy at either at the secretary level or vice president or president level. Ex-Im Bank can provide the financing. USTDA will sometimes come in on top of that and provide a training grant to help level the playing field against foreign competition, where we know there's foreign competition that's kind of tilted the playing field away from the U.S. So while we're not coming in as a combined package, as a tied aid package, which would provide problems, we do have a ability to sequence all of the resources of the U.S. government to help best position U.S. companies in these tenders.
There are other government agencies, the Department of Agriculture. I don't know if there are any major ag commodities dealers in the room right now, but the Department of Agriculture has their own loan guarantee program where they'll support bulk ag commodity sales worldwide. Ex-Im Bank usually is a second on that. In many instances, Department of Agriculture under their CCC program will run out of capacity in a particular country because they go based on country limits that they budget. And then in the fourth fiscal quarter, then Ex-Im Bank will step in and pick up the additional ag commodity sales into that country under one of our insurance products. Okay, so yeah, there's multiple resources and there's no restriction on using all of us. In fact, you probably should at one time or another to be safe.
Well, as these people leave the room, one question, and we've talked about it, but specifically, where do they go to do step one to tap into Ex-Im Bank loans, guarantees? So they go to the commercial loan officer, do they go to their own commercial bank? Do they go to the district area? What's the first step that they would do?
Well, one, again, we're always a resource. Again, my name, number, and email was on the screens for about an hour.
Yeah, it was. I think you should get several emails.
Well, we're certainly a resource. In fact, I should mention the World Trade Center in New Orleans here just became one of our city-state partners. They're a resource. You can certainly call the U.S. Export Assistance Center. You can contact your lender. Well, it depends on the lender. You might be better off talking to us first or talking to, say, Warren Bars in Lafayette. Because depending on the product, we may then refer you back to your lender. Or we may refer you to the Small Business Administration for a solution. They do purchase order financing. We can't do that. We're all fully collateralized support. So I would certainly suggest contact me, but if you have a relationship here in New Orleans and that, certainly contact the Export Assistance Center or contact the World Trade Center.
Good. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Who would you go to for help with trade restrictions?
Exporting to certain countries that don't allow
Well, let's
products.
say
or-
Ecuador, Peru.
Yeah.
We've been exporting for years, but now they've erected these, they disguise them because I think they've got a free trade agreement and it's supposed to be ratified or signed. But they put restrictions in such as having to have your product testing by an independent testing lab of their choosing in their country, paid for by you, and it's for every single shipment that goes in. That's a trade barrier.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a trade barrier unless they also apply those restrictions to local firms. And if they're not
They
applying
don't.
the testing lab
They don't.
requirement, then it is. But that's something we can help you with, and we can do that by putting you in touch with not just our commercial officers who are in Ecuador or whatever post it is, but also the State Department has a presence in more countries than the commercial service does, and we're usually co-located with the State Department. And one of the major jobs of the economic officer via the State Department is, if there's a free trade agreement, to ensure that it is implemented correctly and fairly. And so I'm happy to connect with anybody in those particular countries.
And particularly with Peru, we do have a free trade agreement, and a USTR would be very interested to know if there's additional barriers and standards conformity assessment that U.S. companies are facing that are not being legally applied to local companies.
Sometimes it's an industry standard. We had the European Union standards expert from our office in Brussels come last month. And for a lot of products, any sort of electrical product that you're looking to export to the EU, you have to comply with EU standards, which tend to be CE markings, which are similar to markings that Underwriters Laboratories in the US can provide, but are not the same. And so she was highly recommending to get CE compliance, get the marking, and work with her on that. So in countries where the standards are a big part of being able to trade there, they usually have somebody in the office who is a standards person.
One thing I'd like to follow up on that question is, again, XM Bank and the USTDA and that in the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, we're open worldwide. Right now, I think we're open in about 180 countries. One thing we do recommend and use this as a resource is we have something called the Country Limitation Schedule, which sort of outlines if XM Bank is completely open or there are some restrictions in our support in a particular marketplace, like Cuba or Iran, okay? Ecuador is a market that we're doing only a limited amount of business right now just because of our evaluation of that country. But so you can, the country limitation schedule is updated typically about every 6 months, and so it's always a good initial, if you're looking to prospect, again, is to see what XM Bank's position is in that market.
Okay.
Can I add one more thing?
Go ahead.
You can also sign up on the Bureau of Industry and Security to get alerts from them whenever an export control changes or some product or some country requires an export license. And if you sell energy equipment or supply into the oil and gas or energy market, I would highly recommend doing that because the regulations especially into Russia. I've been getting updates pretty regularly on things that are changing. Or if you sell any dual-use products, which are products that could be used for a commercial and consumer application as well as a military or security application. That's probably the most popular email I get is, what's the export control on this product? And by signing up for the Bureau of Industry and Security alerts, you can get them directly.
Okay, I want to thank the panel for all their expertise, and I would also thank the packaging material that you have, that if you have any questions, it's a good resource to go in and find out where you can get more information on a specific item. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Oquan, and we'll go into our networking. Thanks again, panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry, and thank you, panel. A whole bunch of additional good, solid information that we can all use, and we thank you for that. We're going to go into networking in a minute. We have one more speaker whose name did not appear on our agenda, but I'd like to invite up right now Zandra Marin with the World Trade Center, who's in charge of trade. She's Trade Service Director, and for a few comments.
So good morning, my name is Sandra Marin, and I am the Trade Services Director at the World Trade Center of New Orleans. And I'm here to tell you a little bit of the research branch of the World Trade Center. We're basically a consulting service, and we revamped the department a couple of years ago because we felt that the community had questions on international trade, and we had an amazing set of resources that actually complements what the DOC does. So by now we have worked over 500 hours and we've dealt with over 100 projects. Currently we work with members and non-members. We take care of big businesses and small businesses as well. By now we have very broad experience. We go all the way from human hair imports all the way to steel alloys exports. We also work with foreign direct investment and advising. These are our products. Part of the capabilities we have is direct access to international resources as well as public and private data sources. So our branch is formed by international commercial lawyers and also economists, so we can give you very accurate research and results depending on what you need us to do for you. So please don't be shy, come and visit us. All the information is in a leaflet looking like this. We're there 5 days a week and any of us can give you information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. That's some more good information that you should follow up on if you need their services. At this time, it's my pleasure to present to Director Pat Laurie a small token of our appreciation, and I do mean small. Let me tell you something. I was impressed. Last night we had dinner. I've been out with a lot of governmental people, and Pat would not accept or allow me to purchase her meal. She said it's just not allowed. She wasn't going to do it. She paid for her own meal, and so I checked today. Could we even give her a gift, a small token of our appreciation? She said, if it's small. So I promise you the gift we're giving you is within the guidelines. So, Pat, if you Caitlin would join with me.
Where would you like to? Thank you.
Just a small
Thank
token
you.
of the appreciation from all of us here, our sponsors and our guests and everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to say that this has been an outstanding event, and I'd like to thank again the Port of South Louisiana, as well as the World Trade Center, the River Region Chamber of Commerce, and the Greater New Orleans Association. And thank you again. And although I had to pay for my own meal, the company and the conversation and what I learned about your state in New Orleans was well worth it. So thank you very
We
much.
agree. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Louis. And now I just want to make sure we thank our sponsors again and our great panelists and our moderators. Thank everybody who participated. Most of all, you. I was watching the audience. You were very attentive, and I hope that you did gain some important information. And right now, we're still going to be here for a networking session if you want to network with one another. And also to the curtain here, we have some one-on-one information. If you want to ask a question, maybe you thought might have been too simple and didn't want to ask it when everybody was here, we can go ask it in private or collect some additional information. Thank you so much for making this conference a success. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.